DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded by the first family of Florida State Coffee and based in Pensacola, Florida, DeLuna Coffee is the driving passion of the Lemmix family. Ed, his wife Courtney, and their son Brett. Their tailgating spot out front of the Unconquered statue is their own slice of paradise. But the real delight is DeLuna's blend of Kona, Maui, Kenya, Colombian, and Brazilian beans that they call their liquid gold brew. In fact, they called it Paradise. Try it or one of their 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code WARCHANT15 saves you 15% off at the website. Shout out to Chris Ligori. Says 2 cups in on the Blue Angels blend of DeLuna Coffee, and I'm ready to own my Monday. Hope your Monday went fine. Apparently he's got a podcast himself called Pub Trivia Pod. There you go. You got a shout out because you shouted out DeLuna on your Twitter. Shout out to Wake Up Warchant for the coffee recommendation. Hashtag Go Noles. Hashtag FSU. Thanks, Chris. I mean, we're telling you the truth here. You know, we do get paid to promote them, but it's, you know, we gotta believe in what we're talking about, right, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, we got to believe in the product. To you know, we're not shills that'll just promote anything. It's got to be something we believe in, like the Lamoxin.
That's right. Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source, promo code WARCHANT30. Use it. And 5-star review rating on your iTunes Apple device and a thumbs up, subscribe on the YouTube. Might be coming closer. Every day that this planet keeps making its rotations, Corey, I get probably closer to getting an iPhone again.
That would be nice.
As long as, man, Gene is keeping the wolves at the gates, because since Gene has a Droid, I have cover. But once, if like Gene were to submit to the Apple empire, which I don't think he will, he's gone strong. When I interned for him, I think he was kind of dubious and skeptical on Apple. But maybe just so I can give us a 5-star rating, pump us up a little bit. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. I'd like to apologize in advance if we have any crossover listeners that there was not actually a Seminole headlines this week. We were going to try to record it on Monday evening,
so that didn't even happen. Jeez.
Fred kind of got in the way. So yeah, we're just punting this week. That's on me. Not really though, because I made this appointment 4 months ago. But still, it's nobody else's fault. So I'll take the blame. But we'll be back next week, dear loyal listeners, if you're out there.
In the meantime, Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 p.m. on Warchant TV and 93.3 Radio. We spoke to the coaches via Zoom, or rather just the head coach, Mike Norvell, as well as a couple of running backs, and Derek McClendon on Monday. Fred also wreaking havoc on our plans, apparently part of campus. Was campus closed, period? I don't even know. But
yes,
nonetheless.
It was.
Oh, there we go. It was kind of a little bit windy. Got a little bit windy. Rained all day Monday. But they went Zoom on us, so we did not get to watch practice Monday. We didn't watch the scrimmage on Saturday, so not a lot of observations to share. We have to sort of read between the lines when it comes to what the coach is telling us. So after watching the scrimmage film, not committing, obviously, to any of the quarterbacks, giving compliments to both of them. Anything stand out to you, Corey, from what Mike Norvell talked about after Monday's practice, whether it was something he saw on Monday or, I guess, what he feels about the scrimmage a few days after breaking down film?
Yeah, there were a few things, and I wrote about it on Warchant about, first and foremost, he was asked just what he saw in the scrimmage. Not even necessarily who stood out, but just like going back and reviewing the film. What did he think on second glance on the scrimmage? And without prompting, unsolicited, he mentioned Kalen Deloach and D.J. Lundy, right? Mm-hmm. Like that. I thought that was pretty eye-opening, or ear-opening, I guess. I guess I was watching them too, but ear-opening because he said they're separating themselves. I'm not sure what that meant necessarily, but I think it meant that. I think they're in the running. They're probably both. It's not like the linebacker position is full of returning veterans. So they're in the running to at least get significant playing time. DJ Lundy's kind of the other freshman that we talk about. He's the other guy from last year that had to play some. But Steven Dix is the normal guy we talk about. Then Amari Gaynor is the guy that, you think if there's going to be a linebacker that plays a lot, it would be him. And yet the two guys, we haven't heard his name mentioned a lot. He's out there. But the two guys that Norvell brought up unsolicited were Kalen Deloach and DJ Lundy. So I certainly wouldn't be surprised if one or both of, at least one of them, if they're not starting, they're playing a lot. They're getting significant reps. And those weren't maybe names, right, that you would have said 3 weeks ago. Like, I don't know where they're on our top 40 list, but I doubt any of us thought that starting the second week of practice, they would be the guys that the head coach praised first.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I had either of those folks on my top 40. Never, obviously, I'm like most folks, I'm not that bullish on the linebacking core. But again, to the point of the fact that there's just not a lot of returning guys and that it's wide open, so it's interesting to see that those are the names that are starting to emerge. But we heard a little bit about Kalen Deloach during spring, didn't we not?
Yeah, we did, but still you wonder, okay, is that going to be a spring warrior, a guy that stands out in the spring and then you never really hear from him again once camp starts? But no, he's getting a lot of reps in practice that we've seen, but more than that, like the fact that he was the first guy mentioned. Again, that I think it's not, he wasn't asked, how's Kalen Deloach doing?
Right.
Because what coach is going to say, well, he's actually terrible, and I'm not sure why he's here? They're always going to praise a player. I'm just, I've been doing this a long time. You have too. Anytime you ask a player about a coach about a specific player, they're never going to say anything negative. They might hem and haw around it a little bit, but they won't say anything negative. But to be unsolicited and to speak glowingly, that's not something that happens a lot either, unless it's real. And so that was what caught my ear. Was the way he talked about Deloach, even now that we're, what are we, a week and 2 days into it and a scrimmage into it, he must really like what he's seeing out of him.
And what's going on with Amari Gaynor? He'll name drop left and right. Mike Norvell is an anti-Bobby Bowden. He knows the name of everybody on his roster.
Yeah.
We don't hear anything from Amari Gaynor, though. It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't. Again, that might be, like, we could ask him, and he'd be like, oh, Amari's doing well. He's doing what we're asking him to do, or he's flashing. He's showing signs. But, yes, he has not come up just unsolicited. And, look, there's been a lot of people that haven't, really. But so that doesn't mean that Amari Gaynor's playing terribly or they don't think he's going to be a contributor. But, again, I just thought it was interesting that those were the first two guys he named. And I don't think he's the kind of coach that just – like Jimbo sometimes would praise a guy that was never really going to see the field. Sometimes. Just, he's great. Can't wait to see his potential. I don't think Norvell does that. I think Norvell truly thinks that those guys are going to contribute.
How much does that speak to the fact that maybe – I don't know. Let's not go down that road. It's been raining all day. I don't need to bring a gloomy cloud to the show. Let's keep
it dreary. It's been dreary. Yeah, it was a dreary Monday in Tallahassee. But I'll tell you what, I was able to get a walk-in.
Really? Look at our guy.
Well, I got a little radar going, and I saw the, what do you call the spin? The bands. There you go. Yeah. And I'm like, there's a pretty big break in here. Old Daddy's going to go for a walk, a little 3-mile walk.
Ooh.
Well, it was a 2.5-mile walk and a half-mile run. I'm trying to build up the half-mile part.
Attaboy. That's awesome.
And I would have gone longer, but I had to pee, and there was a porta potty right there, so I just used that and then walked the rest of the way. That's probably a little too much information. You guys aren't listening to me to talk about my walking and running life, but just know that I could have run further, but I had to urinate.
There's a subscriber that posted on the Tribal Council that they're going to lose 7 pounds for every win this season. It was going to lay down a challenge for everybody to join him on that.
So 35 pounds isn't bad. Right? I kid because I care, folks. I kid because I care. So he could get, we're thinking 50 pounds, right?
Yeah, 42. Right.
42 to 49, I think we'd be, that's right in that wheelhouse. I think that would be, hey, whatever it takes to get yourself healthy and in good shape. We all need to do it more.
Absolutely. Also, what I found interesting from Mike Norvell was calling Jarrett Jackson an X Factor. Now, in your parlance, Corey Clark, is X Factor an unknown, or is an X factor something that you just know you can only use in sort of small doses?
That probably was the most not alarming. That's not the right word because that has a negative connotation. The thing that caught my ear the most out of his 18-minute press conference.
How about most notable?
There you go. That's better. That's certainly better than alarming. Long day, folks. Would be was what he said about Jarrett Jackson. Because, again, that came out of nowhere. And I don't recall ever hearing a coach talking quite like that about a player. I'm sure it's happened, but I just can't recall it off the top of my head where he said, Jarrett Jackson has to play well. He has to play well for us, basically for us to be a good defense. He has to play well. Now, that's probably not true, but, I mean, you would hope they could still be pretty good even if Jarrett Jackson doesn't play well. But do you remember ever hearing a coach? It's a challenge, obviously, to Jarrett Jackson. He hopes he watches the interview on Warchant's channel on YouTube. But that he's challenging Jarrett Jackson to say, look, man, if you play well, you make us a different defense. Like, he sees that kind of potential in him, right? He didn't say that about Robert Cooper. He didn't say that about Fabian Lovett or Amari Gaynor or Akeem Dent or anybody else he might have talked about on Monday. The only person he said the whole camp that if they play well, he has to play well, is Jarrett Jackson. I wasn't sure what to think of that other than they must think he has some real NFL-type potential, like game-changing, offensive line dominating potential.
He's got the DNA. Ricky Jackson, Dome Patrol, Saints. That's an uncle or something somewhere on the
Hall of Famer, right? Hall of Famer, Ricky Jackson.
So,
from that great Pitt team.
Crazy thing though is, I mean, we've saw spring practice. We've seen, I don't know, 80% of preseason camp. I haven't seen him do much. I mean, I don't know. So maybe something flipped on for him in the switch in the scrimmage.
I was going to say, so maybe he dominated in the scrimmage, or maybe he had like 3 or 4 just wrecking ball type plays, or 3 or 4 wrecking ball type plays on Monday. And they're like, man, where is that?
Yeah.
Why don't we see that every day? Because, he hasn't said that about Milton or Travis or Corbin, Parchment, anybody else. The only guy was Jackson. So I think he thinks he has a chance to be great, or at least really good, if whatever has to happen happens. And it's not like he said he's been terrible, he's not working hard, he's been late. He didn't say anything like that. It's just I think they're trying to challenge him to let him know he could be a difference maker.
Yeah, I could see like depth purposes, like you certainly need all the depth you can get on the defensive line, but that didn't sound like, we need like 20 good snaps from him.
No, I think they think, look, I think Fabian Lovett has a chance to be pretty darn good. We didn't get to see him last year. I think Robert Cooper is Robert Cooper, man. Like, a serviceable player.
Lovett played last year, just,
No, but he was kind of injured. He wasn't really into the rotation. It was a goofy year. I think they like what Fabian Lovett can do, and I think they know what Robert Cooper probably is, which is a serviceable, solid interior defensive lineman, but not a monster, even though his nickname is the Trench Monster. He's not a monster on the defensive line. Maybe that's what they're challenging him to be, is just an absolute monster, and that's why he says we have to have him play well. Like he said it twice. He reiterated it, which is just, again, you don't hear coaches talk like that very often. With one player challenging him quite like that.
Here we are, August 17th, as you folks listen to the show, and 2 Louisville transfers, the linchpin to this team this season. This is crazy. It's crazy. Also, some other names that we haven't we've heard good things about Joshua Farmer, but I kind of like how Norvell started rattling off names and dropped Farmer as a guy that's going to play. Like, hey, we're going to depend on him. We're going to count on him. He's going to play this season. True freshman, playing defensive line. I don't know. What do you think about that, Corey? Is that just, again, speaks to the overall youth of this team, or just the fact that there's nobody else ahead of him that's taken the bull by the horns?
Yeah, I mean, well, a little bit of both, right? Like, if he was coming into the 93 defense, you're probably not expecting a freshman defensive end to play. But, yeah, he said, I was trying to look up the quote. He said, Josh Farmer is going to play this year. He's still figuring out, but he's a guy that comes in and he's an explosive player. I'm excited about what he brings. Well, man, that's positive. That's high praise. Again, he's a freshman, so you're going to have some lumps, but they like what they've seen out of him, clearly. And then I looked at it again. He goes, I think, talking about Jarrett Jackson, I think Jarrett is a guy that has to step up just to the consistency of his play. And if he does, he's a really talented young man that can help us. And again, there's a lot of guys like that, right? Half the guys on the team, if they step up, can help them.
Yeah, but he's 6'6".
Why single him out?
He's 6'6", 308. I was reading a story from our sister site on Rivals, the Wolfpacker, talking about Corey Durden, and they had quotes from NC State's defensive coordinator, and he was talking about the fact that they have some pretty good players on the defensive line, but just Durden brings like a whole different element. I mean, the fact that he's 6'5" and he can play inside and outside, he can hold down the nose, he can rush off the edge. I don't know if Jarrett Jackson is that versatile, but man, I think 6'6", 308 playing on the interior, that's different. That's a different kind of guy.
Yeah, and they must have seen something. Like, I don't remember them talking about him much since he got here.
Yeah.
And then for that to come out today leads me to believe that something's happened in the last few days or at the scrimmage or the last week where they're seeing some potential there that they're not used to, they maybe didn't see before, and they're really challenging him to tap it because of what that could mean, well, for himself, clearly, in his future, but also for the football team.
Timing is everything in this life, Corey, and you wrote a write-up. I don't know if it was the crux of the notebook was running backs, but you wrote about running backs, and then on Monday we got running backs. We got Treshaun Ward and Jay Sean Corbin.
Right.
Treshaun Ward talked about, I guess, him betting on himself and ending up here at Florida State. He turned down other offers. Jay Sean's another guy that's playing consistent. He says he feels really good. Running back, probably one of the stronger positions on this team. They got plenty of options there. We haven't even said Lawrence Toafili or DJ Williams. Treshaun Ward is a guy. The more I look at it, we talked about Kalen Deloach at the top of the show. Treshaun Ward. These are guys that, I mean, I think Deloach came from a program that really wasn't all that star-studded. I think in previous recruiting cycles. I think he's from Savannah, maybe a private school. I don't think a lot of guys came from that school. Treshaun Ward's a guy that went to Tampa Bay Tech, I think. There's some guys on this roster that Willie sort of rolled the dice on. Now, Malcolm Ray's a guy that he seemed to have put a lot of stock in thinking he got a steal on, and I don't really know where Malcolm factors into things. He's out there getting reps, but I don't know if he'll be a difference maker. But there's some sneaky guys that like Willie left behind and, maybe wasn't the ace recruiter we thought he was going to be. But Treshaun Ward's a guy that if he can play the way we saw him play in some of those spring practices and carry things on into this season, I don't know, like 3 running backs is more's better, right? We like Toafili, we like Corbin. Does it change if you have a third special running back possibly? I mean, because Norvell said that his skill set is something that would be special for this team, for this program.
Well, and I think he said, I can't remember if it was a Monday or another press conference where I think he kind of intimated that when they saw what Treshaun Ward was, it kind of changed how they recruited. As in, we don't desperately need a running back because we like this guy and we're going to give him a scholarship. Now, you could say that's, what do you call sour grapes. They didn't recruit that many running backs that hard, and I don't disbelieve that they saw what they had in Treshaun Ward and it's like, okay, we could sign this 3 or 4-star kid, but he's not better than the kid that's on campus, and we know what he is. We've seen him. So again, people hear about a walk-on getting praised like this, and it's like, okay, well, that's a cool story. That's neat, fine, but come on. It's a walk-on. He's a walk-on for a reason. This kid's a little different. He did have offers at smaller schools, and we've seen him. You saw him. Wasn't he in the Sun Bowl?
Yeah.
And it ran hard. Wasn't terrible in the Sun Bowl. Showed a little something, and then in the spring game, and in some of the practices we've seen, he's got a little something to him. Again, not Dalvin Cook, but he's got a little something to him where he gives you some depth because you don't know. And you're not going to be healthy. You're not going to go through a whole fall with all your running backs healthy, and you don't know what you're going to get from like Corey Wren, right? Like he hasn't really played running back before in his career, right. So he's a guy that can give you a couple snaps, but I don't think he's a guy that can be in there in every situation. Maybe Treshaun Ward is. If Toafili gets dinged up or if Corbin gets dinged up, he's a really good backup option. And maybe a guy that can, give you 50 or 60 yards in a game, depending on the situation. Like he scored against Duke. I think he played a good bit against Duke, too.
Yeah. 10 carries, 44 yards against Arizona State. We forget about our guy, Deontay Sheffield. 18 carries, 87 yards. He ran exceptionally well against them. Ward definitely – it's great to hear about that, but they have a lot of guys on scholarship. Because Sheffield's on scholarship, Ward's on scholarship, DJ Williams from Auburn's on scholarship, and then you got Toafili and Corbin. But I guess that, again, to your point, that's kind of the nature of the beast right now. You have to have plenty of running backs on your roster that are scholarship valuable. Looking at this, Terry, what a game! 9 for 165 and a touchdown.
He had that fumble, though.
He did.
He did have that fumble.
I saw it.
That was his second to last good game he ever had at Florida State.
Man, how time flies.
Remember how excited we were when he was coming back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I went outside and freezing El Paso, the wind. Go watch that video, everybody. You can see my hair flopping around like Kingpin. Like Como.
Oh, like Bill Murray when he's bowling? Yeah, that's
awesome.
That might be – I know he's a revered actor, but for my money, that's especially like pound for pound, like line for line, because he's not in it much. That might be the best Bill Murray performance. Those 12 to 15 minutes that he's in that movie bowling with that rose and the ball, that's perfect. Everything about it is perfect.
I bring up Terry because as I was going through my Twitter feed, I saw it was like a 10-second clip of the Keyshawn Boot, the kid from LSU that just was insane as a freshman last year. And it's like, man, we don't have one of those guys. You said Dalvin earlier in the show. Like, we don't have one of those guys.
Well, and honestly, when was the last, receiver at Florida State that's been one of those guys? Like, Terry was, that year in 19, because of, who was throwing him the ball and the fact they didn't have a lot of help around him, was a pretty sensational year. But, yeah, Florida State hasn't had a incredible wide receiver since Rashad Green, and even he was not built in this. He's not the same prototype as some of these other guys.
Yeah. So begs the question, sort of, how are we going to make this work, or how are we getting to 7 wins without? I don't know if we think there's any elite talent on this offensive roster, even the defensive roster. I mean, I'm talking like elite, maybe top 5 of their position.
You mean like NFL first round? Yeah, no, but there's a lot of 7-win teams that don't have. It's not that hard to get the 7 wins. You don't have to have three All-Americans. We're not asking for 10 wins. So you can definitely get there, man. And what I was going to say, because we don't want it to be all doom and gloom, and
no doom and gloom,
talking about how there's no talent. What I thought maybe the most telling thing that Norvell said, and he even kind of laughed as he said it, but I made note of it, was when he was going off. He was talking about the receivers, and first off, he talked about Malik McClain and Josh Burrell, and he's like, those guys are going to play for us. They're on the fast track. Mentioned Darian Williamson too, but not in the same way that he mentioned those two guys. And talked about Portier and how Portier had at least one big play in 4 straight days, had a big play in the scrimmage, and then had 2 big plays on Monday. So he's really liked what he's seen out of him. And then he just kind of stopped and he goes, it's really nice now when we call a drop back pass that we can throw it and catch it. And it's like, I can get used to this. And he said it kind of with a laugh, jokingly, but man, yeah, you think about what was going on last year. No real consistency. Terry was in and out and in. Pokey was hurt, not. Keyshawn was coming off a terrible injury. You had a different starting quarterback every game, essentially. Like, man, they are better at quarterback, and they're better at receiver compared to 2020. Like, you only got Tamor and Terry for one game. So when you compare this wide receiver crew to last year's, it's better and it's bigger. It's more depth, and the quarterbacks are certainly better. So, I do think there's a reason to be optimistic that at every position on the offense, they should be better. Not elite, probably, but better. And we'll see what that looks like.
Would we rather have Jordan Travis be, if you had two options, you could either have Jordan Travis be better than he was last year or healthier than he was last year. Which one do you take? I take healthier.
Yeah.
I don't know, because listen, man, during practice he'll make some throws. You're like, all right, man, he's growing. Like that's a good throw, man. That's what a good quarterback would do. And then he'll do some throws where you're like, okay, I don't know how you missed that, but you just did. So I don't know how much he's really gotten better. I'll take the coach's word for it. I mean, they talked about during the spring his footwork being improved, his accuracy being improved. Hopefully we'll see some of that. I mean, listen, he's got a pretty low bar to clear when it comes to accuracy. So if he can get a little bit better there, obviously that's a huge step forward. But if he was just available last year, if he was available and healthy from week 1 to week 9, I don't know, 2 wins maybe? I mean, they'd probably beat Georgia Tech.
Yes. If they have the Jordan Travis that played, the healthy Jordan Travis that played in that year, they beat Georgia Tech, probably convincingly. And maybe like Pitt.
Yeah, that one I don't think. NC State, I don't know. NC State, the defense is really bad. Pitt, I think they maybe got a few stops. Maybe the Pitt punter came out once or twice. But many things just don't spiral out of control if he's there.
Right. So what I would say
the
to
whole
that
game,
is,
the whole game. He started that one, right? He left midway through.
Yes, he didn't come back for halftime, but he had a 94-yard or a 89-yard touchdown run in that game. Like I was looking on Twitter on Monday, Dan Mullen talking about Emory Jones, who's their quarterback now at Florida. He's going to be the starting quarterback, and he's like, look, there's some things he does that aren't great, but we call the plays to feature what he does well. He's a dual threat guy. He can run. He's athletic. Certainly more athletic than Trask, but not as good as Trask. Trask was incredible last year.
Did he say that, or is this your opinion?
No, this is me. He said the first part about how they call plays, but the point being, you can cater an offense to a talent like this, and it is a unique talent. Like it is, again, it's not normal to average 8 yards a carry as a quarterback or whatever he did when you take away the sack yardage, and to have some of those runs he had and to keep plays alive like he has. That's a unique skill that defenses aren't used to, they can't practice for, and it extends plays, extends drives, everything else. So if he wins the job, I think they'll cater it a little bit towards him, but also it's not like he can't make the throws.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We see it in practice. My only issue with him as a quarterback right now, it's not arm strength, it's not even accuracy all the time, it's just the quickness. And I talked about it last week, like seeing it and get rid of it. See it, get rid of it. Sometimes the great quarterbacks don't. The great quarterbacks do. They just see it and it's out of their hand. Other quarterbacks, when they're still learning the position, it takes a little longer. And by the time it gets out of their hand, that window's closed. The guy's not open anymore. So that's the stuff you hope comes. But it's not like he has trouble putting a spiral on the ball,
right,
throwing it with velocity, throwing it 55, 60 yards in the air. He can do all that. It's just that part of the quarterback play, not seeing it quickly. But you can win with a guy like that if you cater the offense a little bit towards him, man. I think it just. But again,
and they have a willingness to do that. They have a willingness to do that.
I think so. So I think Norvell wants to run his offense, obviously, and that's not at least in the past it hasn't been a ton of quarterback runs. He'll adjust if he has to, but he would love to have. If Mackenzie Milton Mackenzie Milton was the Mackenzie Milton of 2017, he'd be calling a lot of pass plays and throwing it a lot. But you got to feel like he'll coach to his strengths, and that again, that's what we'll talk about for the next 2 weeks, I'm sure, until a decision is made about who's the quarterback. Is how much do you factor in Jordan's athletic ability and escapability when you're assessing the quarterback race? You know what I mean? Because in practice, for you guys that don't know, and I assume most of you do, they're wearing green jerseys, so they're not tackled. The Chuba collarbone incident probably kept that from ever happening again. But also, if anybody gets near them and just touches them on the back with 2 fingers, they blow the play dead. Well, it takes more than 2 fingers to tackle Jordan Travis. Well, Mackenzie Milton for that matter. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that you get the real feel of what Jordan Travis can do in an offense in a green jersey.
But they know. So they saw what he did last year, though.
But like, if it's even, who do you give it to? Yeah. Or if Milton's ahead 52-48, who do you give it to? Like, what is the offense going to work better with Milton barely beating out Travis and the more of the traditional drop back type quarterback, or does the offense work better with the freakazoid running around at quarterback? But maybe being an inch or two worse at not an inch or two, that's not the right way to measure it, being a tick worse throwing the football. That's the stuff that comes into play, man. It's a really fascinating, I use that word a lot, but it really is a fascinating quarterback battle because they are different dudes and they're both capable.
I mean, I will say that in 11 on 11, Jordan hasn't missed. I mean, the misses that I'm talking about are like one-on-one stuff or just like throwing on air. And it's like, it was a 10-yard out. Like, you have to be able to throw a 10-yard out with consistency. Like, you just have to be able to do that.
Right, but they're both, it's not like the other 3 are nailing
Oh,
them.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. But when they go to 11, that touchdown he made, the first one that they showed in the scrimmage that FSU cut up and put on the internet for all of us to watch, like that's the kind of stuff that we need to see him do. Like, just find stuff that's in the middle of the field between the hashes where you're going to get a window and make the quick enough decision to get the ball out of your hand and get it to your guy while he's still open. And I think the last 2 times, maybe in Tallahassee, and then when they went to Jacksonville, like in 11-on-11, he I know he hit Cam the first day we were in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think he also hit 22, my guy Ja'Kai Douglas, on Friday in Jacksonville. So he when it comes to playing on 11-on-11, he's playing his best. So that should be an encouraging sign right there. This has now become the Jordan Travis is going to be the starting quarterback podcast, if you guys haven't noticed, by the way. So just buckle up for that. But it was just a thought I had.
Well, we certainly don't know or are not predicting anything, but it just
barring health. I'm saying it. I think barring health, he's the starting quarterback. Unless
I feel like through the first 8 or 9 days, we didn't get to see the last 2, but just judging from what we could, figure out from the scrimmage, Jordan Travis is probably ahead right now. What I would say, though, and when they do 11-on-11, he hasn't made – I don't think he's thrown an interception yet in 11-on-11. I don't think Milton has either. But my concern with it is they've taken so many sacks. A lot of it not their fault. Yeah. But is there stuff – we don't get to see the film. And it's not like something you can see quickly. You have to have a discerning eye, more discerning than we have, live. Are there people open that they're missing? Not missing as in they make a bad throw. Missing as they don't get the ball out of their hands. Like somebody's open right away. They don't see a mismatch. They don't read the safety and go to the right read. Is that something that they're still struggling to do? Because that is a huge deal, man. I always go back to, not that it's a great example, but who has ever walked on this campus that had as much maybe ability as a quarterback, all the physical traits you would want than Xavier Lee.
Yeah.
Like could run, had some wiggle to him, could throw it 180 yards from his knee, could throw it over mountains. Like he could do all this stuff, but if you don't see it quick enough, you can't play. If you don't check into the right play, you can't play. And so that I wonder how much, I'm sure that matters more than almost anything, is the plays they're making, the plays they're not making, and what they're seeing and not seeing. You know what I mean? Like, what are they seeing? I'd love to get like Dillingham and just have a beer and be like, okay, how well does Jordan really see it? How well does he see it? Because a lot of his plays last year, they weren't maybe design plays, as in that's what was supposed to happen. It was more like, okay, I'm going to scramble a little bit. Oh, there's somebody open. Let me throw it. So that's what I'm curious about when it comes to Jordan Travis and his future as a quarterback. But he could also be awesome at it. We just don't know.
Back to your point, agreed. Back to your point about the amount of sacks they're taking on. There doesn't really seem to be a middle ground. Like he's either completing a chunk play or it's a fire drill. So it is kind of hard to read how well he's seeing things because it's not a lot of coverage sacks. It's kind of, all right, just somebody's running free, and now you got to run for your life.
That's true. That's a good point.
But again, we'll see how they look if we are able to get back out there Tuesday, if not hopefully Wednesday, and see just if the growth is coming. Because you mentioned on the show the other day, and then Norvell said as well on Monday, this is a really crucial week. And when you hear coaches talk during the season, this game is the most important game, it's the next one, you roll your eyes. I mean, I'm sure we'll be saying this moving forward, like every single week for the rest of the preseason game. This is the most important week. But again, they're setting the stage. Everything's been so deliberate and planned out, and they're building everything up to get to these certain points and these hallmarks they want to get to in the preseason. That I really am curious to see how the quarterbacks look this week. Because again, I think if like McKenzie doesn't make a move this week, then I don't know when he's going to make a move. So that's what I want to be able to get and see when we get back out there, hopefully on Tuesday, and we'll bring.
I was glad my man Norvell kind of echoed what I said on the podcast yesterday, because that wasn't planned. I didn't call him or text him and say, "Hey man, you need to mention how crucial a week this is." But yeah, after this week, it's not really preseason anymore. You got 2 weeks till the game, right? So it's more like prep. You're prepping for the game. It's not. These are the weeks to decide what the depth chart is, and then you start installing the game plan and figuring out how to beat Notre Dame and paying more and more attention to Notre Dame. So this is the week to get up on that depth chart and figure that out. By the way, I wanted to mention before we go, I don't know if we're close to ending this or not. We are. My man Akeem Dent.
Safety.
Now Norvell was asked about him. I should point that out. Ira actually asked about Akeem Dent, but he did have a forced fumble in the scrimmage, and he is playing a different position now. I think they've settled on free safety. And Norvell said he's become a top-level player, Whatever that means, he did seem genuinely pleased with what he's seen from Akeem Dent. He also admitted that he struggled last year, so this isn't a guy that just sees pie in the sky and good and everything. He did admit that our man struggled, but that he's matured a lot, he's grown up, he's taken to the free safety position, and he knows now that it was a really good move to move him there. So, maybe he's in the conversation too, my man.
Hopefully it just sticks. I feel like he's at a certain point in his career where if it doesn't work at this spot, then I don't know. Then you're going to be Levante Love Taylor. You're going to keep bouncing around, or to make him nickelback, or make him cornerback, or to move a little bit of safety. So hopefully it works for Akeem, because the defense needs guys in certain positions to get it all figured out, because they got talent. We hope. It's just getting these guys in the right places. Corey, as we leave, I did want to mention that the AP Top 25 preseason poll did come out. I think this is the third consecutive season Florida State's not ranked in the top 25. I don't know how long or how far you have to go back to have that happen. I don't know. I think in the last decade we still got we were still in the top 25, like going into 2008, weren't we? I don't know. I should have checked that out before I brought this up.
Probably, I would guess, yeah.
I don't like being that guy that goes down and starts combing through others receiving votes and being, we're ranked number 37. No, it's a top 25. That's how it goes.
Right.
Cut it off. Cut out the 25. That being said, there's 7 of the 12 teams on Florida State's roster that got votes in the preseason poll, which is 62 sports writers and broadcasters. So it's not ESPN, everybody. We can't blame it on them. But I guess that just makes the number make that much more sense that Vegas set, right? Because if you look at it in that term, if there's 7 teams that are ranked, Florida State's not ranked, well then I guess you could make the argument that those 7 teams are better than Florida State, and you get 12 games, so 5.5 is that. Vegas just setting the stage for everything. Clemson's 3rd, Notre Dame is 9th, North Carolina 10, Miami 14th. Miami 14th. Didn't see that one coming. And then in the others receiving votes, North Carolina State and Boston College. And Florida's on there too. I was saying ACC teams. Florida's the other. That'd be the 7th game on the schedule.
Yeah, man, it's not an easy schedule. But again, like I said, way too much last year. You're allowed to beat people that are ranked ahead of you. It does happen every day, all across this great country of ours. People that are favorites lose. It just happens. So you're allowed to upset enough people that you become the favorite. That happens too. So it's got to start somewhere, Aslan. We're not asking for much. I think there's talent enough on this roster to get to a bowl.
Yeah.
And then next year we want a better bowl. Then the year after that we want a New Year's Six bowl. That's how you got to adjust the expectations, right?
Do we ever have to come around to the belief that like NC State and Wake Forest are just going to be solid? Like Boston College is going to be solid? Like they're just,
I mean, to me, they're all Kentuckies, right?
Okay.
In football.
Yeah.
Like Kentucky's always 5 to 7 wins. They're not, they can upset some teams. They might have a run to a bowl. They're usually going to win around 6 games. And they're going to be, but they're not a cakewalk. It's not like Georgia beats them every year or Florida beats them every year to 60-0. Even during that crazy winning streak Florida had over them, it wasn't always 60-4. They were close games. That's how I think the lens you have to look at NC State and Wake Forest. They're never going to do anything. They're never going to win anything of note. If they would have done it by now. I know Wake won. At least Wake's won a conference once. NC State, come on, man. But anyway, we know what they are. They're Kentucky. So if you're Georgia,
3 first-place votes. 3 first-place votes for Kirby and the boys in Athens, by the way.
But what are they, 5th?
Yes.
Yeah. So in Clemson's what?
3rd. Yeah.
Okay, a little top 5 matchup to start the season with the Dogs and Clemson. But yeah, my point being, if Florida State gets to the right place, right, like Boston College and NC State and those teams, Wake Forest, they shouldn't worry them that much because it's like Alabama playing. It should be like Alabama or Georgia playing Kentucky. Not a cakewalk, not a walkover. Respect your opponent, but if you play well, you should beat them comfortably. That's where Florida State should always be in relation to those schools.
A&M 6th, Iowa State 7th, Cincinnati 8th.
What a crazy top 10.
What do we do? What's going on in the world? What's going on in the world?
It's the beauty of college football, man. It's the beauty of college football. Hey, where's Alabama?
Right. first.
Where are they? I don't know. Are
First.
they 1?
Number 1. Oklahoma's 2, Clemson 3,
Okay. That's
Ohio
weird.
State 4. Let's just keep running it back. Let's keep running it back, y'all.
Yep. It'll one of these days something will change.
Let's just keep running it back. All right, we'll run the show back for you folks tomorrow morning. Not this exact one that we did, but we'll do the show again. We're doing it daily. We'll probably do a live show Wednesday. You want to commit to that, Corey, right now as everybody's listening? Commit to it?
Yeah, we do. It'll be, I don't know when we normally are going to do them. I think that one we should probably plan for like 7:15 or 7:30 because I'll be driving back after our meeting. And then we have a 12:30 meeting, figure to be 30, 45 minutes. I'm leaving at 1:30. I get home at 6:30. Got to get Brady all set up. So maybe 7 we can plan on it. But yes, we will plan on doing a live show on Wednesday. I got the itch. I don't get to do headlines live. So I got to do something live, man. I got to do something.
That's not fun. I don't know. I can't believe you're going to drive up and then turn around and do a live show.
That's what I do, man. It'll give me 5 hours to formulate my thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. In the meantime, as you're waiting for that, don't forget Jeff Cameron, 1 to 3 p.m. right here on Warchant TV and 93.3 Radio in Tallahassee. Again, they'll be practicing on Tuesday morning. If this storm is blown through, hopefully we'll be able to go out there and watch and bring observations back for you folks here on the show. If not, stay connected to warchant.com. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded by the first family of Florida State Coffee and based in Pensacola, Florida, DeLuna Coffee is the driving passion of the Lemmix family. Ed, his wife Courtney, and their son Brett. Their tailgating spot out front of the Unconquered statue is their own slice of paradise. But the real delight is DeLuna's blend of Kona, Maui, Kenya, Colombian, and Brazilian beans that they call their liquid gold brew. In fact, they called it Paradise. Try it or one of their 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.